So I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro Max ever since it was first released back in September 16, 2022, which has been approximately 942 days. And in this video, I'll be talking about how this phone has held up over the years, talk about its battery health, its design, and my thoughts on the iPhone 14 Pro Max after upgrading to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So let's go ahead and start the video. Let's start by talking about the phone's durability. So, after 942 days, I've been using this phone without a case, and once I dropped this phone once and it got a little scratch. Well, not really a scratch, it's a crack, if you can see this. And after that day, I started putting a case on this phone. I've dropped this phone a couple of times without the case, and so far it has only managed to crack right here with this stainless steel design and a matte frosted back right here. The phone has held up really well, and the camera module right here, all of the cameras are scratch free. Never put any type of screen protector on it or anything, and it's super durable. That's one thing I've noticed on iPhone cameras and most smartphones, is that the camera lenses or the camera modules, the cameras, they're super strong. Like the glass that is covering it, the sapphire glass, they're super strong. They don't scratch easily. Now let's talk about the battery health. So over the 942 days, I don't think I've ever had this phone just turned off unless the battery ran out. That was probably the only time this phone would be turned off. And over that time, the phone's battery health, its capacity is down to 86%, which I wasn't expecting to be so high. I thought at least it would be at around 60% over 2 years, but it's great to see how strong the battery is. Yeah, I use this phone, over 6 hours of screen on time. So I use this phone. So I do heavily use this phone. Actually, what I also want to point out is when I first got this phone, it was sold out. I had to go to another city just to buy it. And this right here is the 1 terabyte model. So I've been taking a lot of photos and videos, a lot of games, and just using the heck out of this phone. And the battery health is now at just 86%. Also, I do have optimized battery charging turned on, as well as clean energy charging. I didn't even know they were on, but yeah, those two options have been turned on. Now let's talk about the performance. So the iPhone 14 Pro Max is equipped with Apple's A16 chip with 6 gigabytes of RAM. There has not been a single day where I think this phone is underpowered or losing its power or anything like that. It still feels like a flagship phone, and I would still consider this a flagship phone. Now compare this to the iPhone 16e. I might have to make a separate video for that, but I would say if you're looking for an iPhone and you want 3 cameras, 120 hertz, amazing battery life, big screen, and you don't want to break the bank, maybe not even want to get the iPhone 16e since it's not really a flagship phone, but you want a flagship phone that's cheaper than an iPhone 16e, well, you're looking at it right here. I still play games on this phone. I played Call of Duty, GTA, and some other games, and they all run phenomenally. Now let's talk about my thoughts on the iPhone 14 Pro Max after upgrading to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Well, keep it simple. I don't even know why I upgraded. Well, I do know, and the main reason why I upgraded was to be able to shoot log footage on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And all this time that I have had the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I have not once shot in log, nor have I really been blown away with this camera button right here. When I use this phone, I don't miss these features from the iPhone 16 Pro Max that I was upgrading for. Even the performance on this phone is great. Of course, this phone is definitely more powerful and better than this phone, but when I use this phone after using the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I'm not really missing anything here. So the iPhone 16 Pro Max has 48 megapixel wide camera, same exact camera as this guy. And then it has a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto camera, pretty much the same thing as this guy right here. This one also has 12 megapixel telephoto camera. The only difference here is the iPhone 14 Pro Max has 3x optical zoom, while the 16 Pro Max has 5x optical zoom. And then the last camera is the ultra wide camera, which the 16 Pro Max has a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera, while this guy has a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Now, have I really noticed that big of a difference in terms of quality? I'm going to quickly test out the ultra wide cameras and see how these are. So, recording this Windows Phone in ultra wide cameras. Let's see how these phones videos look. From what I can tell here, I can't really see the difference. But yeah, in terms of camera, I was pretty underwhelmed when I used this camera on the 16 Pro Max compared to the 14 Pro Max. Even the front-facing cameras are identical, so don't really need to even test that out. I felt like I had so much to say, but all I want to say is the iPhone 14 Pro Max is still a flagship in 2025.